10 days into this 5-test Ashes series, and England find themselves 2-0 down, and the obituaries are already in the process of being written. Let's go back to the first test, the Gabba in Brisbane. England competed for 2.5 days. They batted first, but they still lost to Australia by 10 wickets. Adelaide, second test, day-night. Joe Root put Australia into bat, 442 on the board. It wasn't good enough by England's bowlers in the first innings, even though they bowled better in the second. But England still lost that test by 120 runs. So the third test brings us to Perth, and England's track record in Perth is not good. They've only won once, and that was 39 years ago when Australia, during the Packer years, were a very weakened side. So what do England do? Do they make changes? Who's knocking on the door? Is anyone knocking on the door for England? Let's look at possible candidates. Gary Ballance. Now, Gary Ballance is a left-hander. He does have a vulnerability to the short ball, and the problem is, for England, is that he's another left-handed batsman. And Nathan Lyon, the off-spinner, of course, for Australia, has been the scourge of England. 10 of his 11 wickets in the 2 tests so far have been against left-handers. So are you going to risk another left-hander, Gary Ballance, coming in? Somehow I don't think so. Johnny Bairstow, is he batting too low down the order? Former Australia captain Ricky Ponting believes that Bairstow technically is one of the better England players. He believes that Bairstow should bat up the order. Should Bairstow go between the left-handed David Malan and the left-handed Moeen Ali, and in doing that, you would then disrupt the rhythm of Nathan Lyon, because you'd have left-hander, right-hander, left-hander. The problem there, though, if Moeen Ali's not going to play, and we'll get onto that in a moment, then that weakens England's batting order. David Malan and Moeen Ali, do they both play? Joe Root, does he or should he move to number 3? Again, Ricky Ponting says it's time for Joe Root, the captain, to bat at 3, not to bat at 4. But Joe Root likes batting 4. He's comfortable at 4. I don't see that changing. England's bench strength, we're looking at that in the bowling department. Jake Ball, he's been tried and discarded after Brisbane. He was ineffective. Tom Curran, he's another tallish, medium-fast, right-handed bowler, but that's very much what England have already with Broad, Anderson and Wokes, and now Overton. Mason Crane, a young leg spinner, not tried, but he did have a winter with a Sydney grade club and he bowled very well indeed. Does he come in onto the faster, bouncier pitch at Perth? Possibly at the expense of Moeen Ali, who has not been effective at all. There's a possibility that Mason Crane might play. But the 2 lights that have been shining for England, certainly in Adelaide, were Craig Overton. The big, tall seamer came in. He's got a little bit of extra pace. He's got more bounce, and he ruffled a few feathers when he bowled, and he took 3 wickets in Australia's first innings. And of course, with the bat, he looks equivalent to Pat Cummins in the Australian order. So he's a big plus. And Chris Wokes coming back to form after a lacklustre first test in Brisbane. He came back to the form which England expect from him. He picked up 4 wickets in Australia's second innings. So Trevor Bayliss, England's Australian-born coach, believes that there is no need to panic, that there will not be many selection changes. It remains to be seen. What about Australia? They're firing on all cylinders. They're ticking virtually all the boxes. And those doubters who mocked the selectors for picking this team or this squad have certainly been put in their place. Even Shane Warne doubted the credibility of the selectors in their selection. But it's hard to see how England are going to come back at Perth, where their record is so bad, and it's difficult to see how it's not going to be 3-0 to Australia after Perth.